the lost pilot who saved 183 lives, until the F-22s called her Wraith. While other children played with dolls or video games, Alina spent hours staring up at the clouds, watching airplanes carve paths across the blue. There was something magical about how they moved, how they seemed to dance above the world. Her fascination quickly turned into a dream. She wanted not just to fly, but to become one of the best pilots her country had ever seen. Alina grew up in a small town where opportunities for big dreams were limited. Her family was loving but practical. They encouraged her to study, to do well in school, and maybe pursue a stable career, something safe. But Alina could not imagine a life confined to a desk or an office. She would sneak glances at the sky during school breaks, imagining herself in a cockpit, feeling the rush of air and the hum of engines beneath her. She read every book she could find about flight, about the great pilots of history, and about daring missions that had changed the world. Each story inspired her, and she carried these inspirations deep in her heart. When Alina turned 18, she applied to the Air Force Academy. The process was grueling. There were tests, interviews, physical challenges, and endless assessments of skills and potential. Many discouraged her, saying the Air Force was not easy for women to succeed in. But Alina's determination burned brighter than any doubt. She trained harder, studied longer, and pushed herself further than anyone else. Her nights were spent memorizing flight manuals, her mornings running drills and exercises. She often felt exhausted, but exhaustion did not mean defeat to her. Every day brought her closer to the cockpit, and she would not stop until she got there. Alina's first day at the academy was intimidating. The campus was full of young cadets, many of whom had grown up in military families or had trained their whole lives for this moment. Some were skeptical of her abilities, and she quickly realized she would have to prove herself not just once, but every single day. Training was relentless. She learned about navigation, aerodynamics, and emergency procedures. She endured long hours in simulators, practicing scenarios that would test every ounce of skill and courage she had. She was pushed to her limits, but with every challenge, her confidence grew. One of Alina's earliest challenges came during a storm simulation. She was alone in a small aircraft simulator, the lights dimmed to mimic night conditions, rain and lightning flashing across the screen. Suddenly, alarms blared. The simulated engine began to fail, and the plane started to lose altitude. Panic might have overtaken another cadet, but Alina remained calm. She assessed the situation, remembered her training, and took control. Using every maneuver she had learned, she steadied the aircraft and brought it safely back to level flight. Instructors watched in silence, impressed not just by her skill, but by her calm under pressure. That day, Alina earned respect, though quietly, without fanfare. After completing the academy, Alina moved on to advanced flight training. Here, the stakes were higher, and the planes were faster and more complex. She trained in fighter jets, practicing aerobatics, dogfighting maneuvers, and high-speed navigation. She excelled in her classes, often outperforming cadets who had more experience or who were older. Yet, despite her accomplishments, recognition was slow. Many senior officers still underestimated her. Some made offhand comments about how she would struggle in the field, how combat missions were not suited for someone like her. Alina ignored the whispers. She knew her worth, and she was determined to prove it in the sky. It was during one early mission that Alina earned a reputation that would follow her for years. She was assigned to a routine patrol with a squadron of more experienced pilots. The mission started normally, patrolling over familiar territory, running through exercises. Suddenly, a nearby training drone went out of control. The other pilots reacted, but none could intercept it safely. Alina, relying on instinct and her sharp observation, maneuvered her aircraft with precision and intercepted the drone, guiding it to a safe landing without any damage. The other pilots stared in surprise, some even impressed. Alina had saved the day quietly without seeking any praise. That was her way. She believed that actions mattered more than words. Despite these small victories, there were setbacks. Alina faced challenges that tested her patience and resilience. Some missions were canceled due to weather, some training exercises went wrong, and sometimes her performance was questioned unfairly. She experienced moments of doubt, wondering if all the effort was worth it. But then she remembered why she started. She remembered the feeling of being in the cockpit, the freedom of flying above the clouds, and the responsibility she felt to protect others. That purpose kept her going, even when recognition was absent. One mission would define her in ways no one could have predicted. A routine reconnaissance flight over a stormy region went wrong. Radar contact was lost, and Alina's plane disappeared from the screens of the command center. For hours, nobody knew where she was. The storm raged, winds howled, and visibility dropped to almost nothing. Many assumed the worst, but Alina, using every skill she had learned, navigated the storm. She relied on instincts honed from years of training, finding pockets of calm air, using minor landmarks and instruments to guide her through the chaos. By the time she emerged, exhausted but safe, she had proven something extraordinary, not just to others but to herself. She could survive the impossible. From that point forward, Alina's reputation began to grow quietly. Among those who knew her story, she became known as someone who could handle the most challenging situations without panicking. She was the lost pilot who had found her way through the storm. Yet despite her skill, she remained humble, never boasting, never demanding attention. She focused on missions, on helping her squadron, and on improving herself. Her dedication earned her trust among peers, even if some senior officers remained skeptical. Alina also had a personal side that few people knew about. She had a soft spot for helping others, often volunteering in community programs, mentoring young cadets, and supporting causes for veterans and families affected by military service. Her heart was as strong as her skill in the cockpit, and she carried a sense of responsibility for others wherever she went. This balance of strength and compassion made her unique, a pilot who could perform feats of bravery while remaining grounded and empathetic. By the time she completed her training and joined active missions, Alina was ready for anything, but no one, including her, could predict what was coming next. Her years of preparation, the storms she had navigated, the drones she had intercepted, and the quiet moments of doubt and triumph had all prepared her for a mission that would test everything she had learned. A mission where her actions would save hundreds of lives and earn her a name that would become legendary among pilots: Wraith. Even before that mission, her life was a story of determination, skill, and courage. She had faced skepticism, battled storms, and overcome obstacles that would have broken others. She had learned to trust herself, to make decisions quickly, and to act decisively in the face of danger. These qualities made her not just a pilot, but a force to be reckoned with, a rising star in the Air Force whose journey was only just beginning. As she prepared for the next phase of her career, Alina remained humble but focused. She knew that true recognition was not about medals or titles, but about the lives she could touch and the missions she could complete successfully. Little did she know, the next challenge would demand every skill, every ounce of courage, and every lesson she had learned, from the clouds of her childhood dreams to the storms that had shaped her destiny. Alina's story in Part 1 is about growth, determination, and quiet heroism. It sets the stage for the incredible challenges she would face next, showing how she became a pilot ready to save lives against all odds. It is a story of patience, resilience, and the kind of courage that doesn't need an audience. It simply acts when the moment comes. The morning of the mission began like any other, with the hum of aircraft engines and the buzz of communication filling the airbase. But Alina Harper could feel that something was different. There was tension in the air, a sense of urgency that made the routine drills and briefings feel heavier than usual. She had been called to a special assignment, one that would test everything she had learned and push her skills to their absolute limits. A commercial flight carrying 183 passengers had lost contact over a remote, mountainous region. The weather was harsh, with clouds thick and low, winds unpredictable, and visibility almost non-existent. Rescue teams had been sent, but the conditions were nearly impossible. Helicopters could not reach the area, drones could not navigate the storm, and every passing minute made the mission more dangerous. Lives hung in the balance, and the Air Force needed someone who could think quickly, act decisively, and navigate situations that seemed impossible. Alina volunteered immediately. She did not hesitate, even though she knew the risk. Her squadron hesitated, some officers expressing concern about the severity of the conditions, but Alina's calm confidence convinced them. She had navigated storms before, survived scenarios others would consider deadly, and had an instinct for handling emergencies. This mission was no different. She believed that if anyone could save those people, it was her. As she prepared her aircraft, she went over every detail of the flight plan. She checked instruments, reviewed emergency protocols, and memorized the coordinates given by the radar. Every step was precise, deliberate, and thorough. Alina knew that mistakes could cost lives, and she refused to leave anything to chance. She had faced storms before, but this was different. This was not a simulation, and she was responsible for hundreds of lives. The moment she took off, the storm greeted her like a wall of chaos. Rain lashed against the cockpit, winds pushed her plane in every direction, and lightning flashed dangerously close. Communication with the base was spotty at best, and she was forced to rely on her instincts and training more than ever. She adjusted her altitude, navigated through narrow passes between mountains, and held the aircraft steady despite turbulence that would have shaken even the most experienced pilots. Hours passed as she worked tirelessly, scanning the terrain, coordinating with the limited rescue teams available, and following the faint signals from the distressed plane. Her mind was focused, sharp, and unwavering. She monitored the instruments, calculated wind speeds, and anticipated every movement of the aircraft. Alina knew that one wrong decision could end in disaster, but she remained calm, trusting in her preparation and experience. At one point, the plane's radar lost the signal entirely. For a few tense moments, she could not locate the passengers or even confirm their altitude. Panic would have been natural, but Alina had trained for this. She relied on visual cues, the shapes of the mountains, and minor breaks in the storm clouds to estimate the location. Her heart pounded, but her mind was steady. She plotted a course through the valley, adjusting constantly for wind and rain, and slowly she began to close in on the lost flight. Then came the most dangerous moment of the mission. As she approached the area, the storm intensified. Turbulence tossed her plane violently, and visibility dropped to nearly zero. She had to make a decision, wait for conditions to improve, which could cost lives, or navigate through the storm using her instincts and skill. Alina chose the latter. She tightened her grip on the controls, focused on the instruments, and guided the aircraft with precision, her movements fluid, confident, and deliberate. Every second mattered. Finally, through a break in the clouds, she spotted them. The distressed plane was caught on a narrow ledge of terrain, unable to descend further with the passengers frightened and unsure of what to do. Alina's heart raced, not with fear but with determination. She had trained for this moment, and now she had to act. Using her knowledge of aerodynamics and maneuvering, she calculated the safest approach, guiding the rescue plane close enough for coordination without risking collision. Alina communicated with the passengers, guiding them step by step, reassuring them that help was on the way. Her calm voice contrasted with the storm outside, instilling confidence and hope. She instructed them on safety procedures, coordinated with the rescue teams on the ground, and mapped out the safest descent paths. Every instruction she gave was precise, clear, and meant to maximize survival. The people began to trust her, their fear gradually replaced with hope. Hours of relentless effort followed. Alina made repeated passes, scanning for obstacles, guiding ground teams, and ensuring that no detail was overlooked. Her training as a lost pilot in earlier storms paid off. She could anticipate turbulence, predict wind shifts, and navigate even when instruments faltered. The passengers, initially panicked, began to move under her guidance, slowly making their way to safer ground. Alina's actions were methodical, steady, and unyielding. At one point, the storm worsened, and she was forced to fly lower, risking her own safety to keep the rescue mission on track. Lightning flashed dangerously close, and rain hammered the cockpit, but Alina did not waver. She adjusted every control with precision, compensating for wind gusts and maintaining communication with the ground team. Her focus was absolute. Each movement of the aircraft, each word spoken to the passengers, was calculated to ensure survival. By late afternoon, her efforts began to show results. People were guided to safer areas, the most vulnerable rescued first, and slowly the majority of passengers reached secure ground. The base monitored every movement, amazed at the precision and skill displayed. Alina's colleagues began to recognize what she had always known. She was extraordinary. Her combination of calm, skill, and courage made her uniquely capable of handling emergencies that seemed impossible. Despite exhaustion, Alina continued her mission. She could not rest while even a single life was at risk. Her determination was unshakable, fueled by years of training and a deep sense of responsibility. As night approached, she coordinated the final rescues, using lights, signals, and guidance to lead the remaining passengers safely. Every decision was critical, but she remained calm, methodical, and focused on the lives she was protecting. Finally, as darkness fell, the mission was complete. All 183 passengers were safe, guided by Alina's skill, courage, and unwavering determination. Rescue teams on the ground and at the base breathed sighs of relief. The impossible had been accomplished, and it was largely due to one pilot's dedication and talent. Alina, exhausted but quietly proud, reflected on the day's events. She had faced one of the most dangerous missions of her life and had succeeded where many would have failed. Word of her heroism began to spread quietly. Among the pilots and rescue teams, she was recognized as someone exceptional, someone who could perform under pressure and save lives when circumstances seemed hopeless. Yet, Alina did not seek fame. She focused on the people she had helped, on the lives she had protected, and on the lessons learned from the storm. The experience reinforced her belief that skill, courage, and calm determination were the keys to survival in the most challenging situations. The mission also marked a turning point in her career. Senior officers, once skeptical of her abilities, began to acknowledge her talent. Colleagues who had doubted her now respected her insight, precision, and courage. Alina had proven herself not just in training or simulations, but in real-life circumstances that demanded every ounce of skill and bravery she possessed. Her actions became a benchmark for others, a story of heroism that would be remembered within the Air Force for years to come. Yet, even with recognition, Alina remained humble. She understood that heroism was not about medals or attention, but about doing what was right when it mattered most. The passengers she saved were safe because she had acted decisively, relied on her training, and maintained calm under pressure. Her success was a combination of preparation, instinct, and courage, and she valued the lives she had protected more than any praise. The storm that day had tested Alina in ways few could imagine. It had pushed her to the limits of endurance, skill, and patience. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and danger, and had emerged successful. But the mission was more than a personal achievement. It was a demonstration of what a dedicated pilot could accomplish when determination and skill meet opportunity. Alina's story would inspire others, showing that courage, preparation, and quick thinking could overcome even the most impossible situations. As she returned to the base, Alina knew that the world had changed slightly because of her actions. She had saved lives, earned respect, and proven her worth in a way that words alone could not describe. The nickname Wraith would soon follow, whispered among pilots who had witnessed her skill, describing her ability to appear, act decisively, and disappear as if guided by an unseen force. But for Alina, the reward was simple: the knowledge that 183 lives were safe, and that she had done everything possible to make that happen. Part 2 of Alina Harper's story is about courage, skill, and determination in the face of extreme danger. It captures the tension, emotional highs, and tactical brilliance that made her a hero. It sets the stage for Part 3, where her abilities would earn her recognition among elite pilots, and the nickname Wraith would become a symbol of her unmatched skill and bravery. After the daring rescue mission, Captain Alina Harper returned to base exhausted but quietly proud. She had saved 183 lives, a feat most would call impossible, yet she did not seek recognition. Her thoughts were already moving ahead, reflecting on what had gone right, what she could have done better, and how she could be prepared for the next challenge. Alina's focus had never been on fame or accolades. It was always on performing her duties with precision and protecting lives whenever she could. News of her mission began to spread within the Air Force. Officers and colleagues who had once doubted her skill now spoke of her with respect, even admiration. Her actions were extraordinary, not just for the technical skill displayed, but for the calm, clear-headed decision-making under immense pressure. Alina's success in navigating the storm and guiding the passengers to safety became a story shared in briefings and training sessions as an example of courage and professionalism. Though she remained humble, those who knew her began to understand that she was exceptional, a pilot capable of feats few could match. Among those who took notice were the F-22 pilots, the elite fighter squadron known for their speed, precision, and advanced aerial skills. These pilots were some of the most highly trained and respected in the Air Force, and they were always looking for peers who could operate at their level. When they heard of Alina's mission, they were intrigued. Her ability to maneuver through a storm, coordinate a complex rescue, and maintain control under impossible conditions set her apart from ordinary pilots. In their eyes, she was no longer just a skilled pilot. She was extraordinary, almost untouchable in her abilities. The opportunity to meet these pilots came during a joint training exercise. Alina was assigned to participate in a simulated combat mission alongside the F-22 squadron. As she entered the briefing room, she felt the usual mix of anticipation and focus. The F-22 pilots were known for their confidence, and some for their pride in their skills. But Alina did not let intimidation affect her. She had faced storms, mechanical failures, and life-or-death situations. This exercise, while challenging, was something she could handle with the same calm determination she had relied on during the rescue mission. The simulation began. Jets roared into the sky, performing intricate maneuvers at high speeds. Alina's mind was sharp, her senses heightened. She monitored the position of every aircraft, adjusted for wind and speed, and executed precise turns and maneuvers. Her coordination with the other pilots was flawless. While the F-22 pilots were impressed by each other's skills, they quickly noticed Alina's ability to anticipate movements, adapt instantly, and perform maneuvers with elegance and precision. There was an almost ghost-like quality to her flying. She appeared in the perfect position exactly when needed and disappeared just as swiftly, leaving no trace but her effectiveness. By the end of the exercise, the F-22 pilots were silent for a moment, processing what they had seen. Alina had not only matched their skill but, in several instances, had outperformed expectations. One of the squadron leaders finally broke the silence. "That was impressive," he said, nodding toward her. Another pilot with a hint of awe added, "It's like she's everywhere at once, like a Wraith." The nickname spread quickly among the squadron, capturing Alina's unique ability to appear when needed, act decisively, and vanish without leaving anything behind but success. Alina, as always, remained humble. She did not correct them, did not explain her techniques, and certainly did not claim superiority. But inside, she felt a quiet satisfaction. The recognition was not for fame, but because others now understood what she had always known about herself. Her skill was extraordinary, honed through years of dedication, training, and challenges that had tested her resolve at every step. The nickname Wraith was more than a compliment. It was a symbol of her mastery and the respect she had earned from elite peers. In the weeks that followed, Alina continued to participate in joint missions and training exercises with the F-22 pilots. Each mission tested her skills in new ways, requiring quick thinking, adaptability, and precision. She learned from them, observing their techniques, while also teaching in subtle ways through her own actions. Her ability to remain calm under pressure became a lesson in itself. Other pilots began to emulate her style, noting how she made split-second decisions look effortless while maintaining control over the aircraft and the situation. Despite her growing reputation, Alina remained grounded. She remembered the people she had saved during the rescue mission, their faces etched in her memory. She often thought about the 183 lives she had protected and how each decision, each maneuver had made a difference. This sense of responsibility guided her in every flight, every exercise, and every mission. She knew that skill alone was not enough. Courage, focus, and the ability to act decisively under pressure were equally important. The nickname Wraith began to follow her beyond the Air Force Base. Stories of her daring rescue and unmatched skill reached other branches, inspiring admiration and curiosity. She became an example of quiet heroism, showing that true strength did not always need to be loud or boastful. She flew with a purpose, guided by a sense of duty and compassion, and her legend grew naturally, one mission at a time. One particularly challenging mission tested Alina in ways even more intense than before. A series of exercises simulated high-risk combat scenarios in difficult conditions. Enemy aircraft, radar jamming, and unexpected obstacles created a tense and demanding environment. Many pilots struggled to keep up, but Alina adapted quickly. She anticipated threats before they appeared, guided her squadron with precision, and executed complex maneuvers flawlessly. The F-22 pilots, who had initially been impressed, were now inspired by her calm leadership and uncanny ability to manage chaos with control. After the mission, debriefings were filled with discussions about Alina's performance. Officers noted her strategic thinking, her smooth execution under pressure, and her ability to coordinate multiple elements of a mission simultaneously. While others talked about their own maneuvers and achievements, Alina quietly reviewed her actions, thinking about what she could improve for the next flight. Her humility, combined with skill, made her a natural leader, even if she did not seek the title. Beyond the technical skill, Alina's personality also made her respected and admired. She had a way of encouraging others without condescension, of teaching lessons through actions rather than lectures. Young pilots found themselves looking up to her, older pilots recognized her expertise, and her peers respected her dedication. She became a symbol of what could be achieved through hard work, resilience, and focus, showing that talent combined with determination could overcome even the most daunting challenges. Even outside missions, Alina continued to train and improve. She studied new techniques, explored advanced flight simulations, and prepared for every scenario imaginable. She knew that being called a Wraith was not just about skill. It was about continuous learning, discipline, and the ability to adapt to situations that could change in an instant. Her preparation became part of her identity, a commitment to excellence that she carried into every aspect of her life. The nickname Wraith also carried a sense of responsibility. It reminded Alina that her actions were now being observed and that her skill could influence others. She could no longer afford to be complacent. Every mission, every flight, every decision mattered. She embraced this responsibility, knowing that true mastery was not just about personal achievement, but about the impact one had on others. Her courage and skill became a beacon for those around her, inspiring confidence and trust. Over time, Alina's reputation grew beyond the immediate circle of the Air Force. Pilots and officers from other bases began to hear her story. The media, while not fully aware of her identity, reported on the incredible rescue of 183 lives, often mentioning the pilot's calm and precise actions under extreme conditions. While Alina did not seek attention, her heroism became recognized as a symbol of dedication, courage, and skill that went beyond ordinary expectations. Part 3 of Alina Harper's story captures the peak of her recognition and mastery. Her extraordinary skill during the rescue mission earned her respect among elite F-22 pilots, and the nickname Wraith became a symbol of her unmatched ability, calm under pressure, and quiet heroism. She was no longer just a pilot. She had become a legend among her peers, a symbol of what could be achieved through courage, focus, and unwavering determination. This part sets the stage for Part 4, where Alina's story of legacy, training the next generation, and continued heroism unfolds. The nickname Wraith becomes more than a title. It becomes a legend that guides and inspires others in the Air Force and beyond. After years of intense missions, training, and quiet heroism, Captain Alina Harper's life had changed in ways she had never imagined. She was no longer just a skilled pilot. She was a symbol of courage, precision, and quiet leadership. The nickname Wraith, first given by the elite F-22 pilots, followed her wherever she went. It was not just a name. It represented her ability to appear at the right moment, act decisively, and achieve the impossible without seeking attention. Alina had earned respect in the Air Force and beyond, but for her, the real reward was knowing that she had made a difference in people's lives. Alina continued to fly missions, but now she also took on the responsibility of training new pilots. She believed that sharing her knowledge, skills, and experience was as important as any rescue or combat mission. Young cadets looked up to her with awe and admiration, inspired not only by her skill, but also by her humility. She taught them how to remain calm under pressure, how to make quick and accurate decisions, and how to navigate unexpected challenges with confidence. Her lessons were practical, clear, and rooted in real-life experience. The training sessions often began with stories of her missions, though Alina rarely spoke of herself. Instead, she focused on the challenges, the decisions that needed to be made, and the lessons learned. She emphasized the importance of preparation, teamwork, and awareness, showing that even the smallest choices could have significant consequences. Her students learned to value focus, patience, and adaptability, understanding that courage alone was not enough without skill and strategy. Alina also encouraged innovation and independent thinking. She wanted her cadets to be able to solve problems in their own way, to think creatively, and to remain calm in situations where no one could give them instructions. She shared examples of navigating through storms, handling unexpected mechanical issues, and making split-second decisions that saved lives. Her guidance was practical, inspiring, and deeply personal, reflecting her belief that true leadership comes from understanding and experience rather than authority alone. Outside of training, Alina continued to participate in advanced missions, often alongside the F-22 pilots who had first given her the nickname Wraith. Their respect for her had only grown over time. They saw her not just as a peer but as a mentor, someone whose instincts, calm, and skill could guide them in difficult situations. Working together, they executed complex missions that required coordination, precision, and adaptability. Alina's presence elevated the performance of every team she joined, and her calm under pressure often became the key factor in mission success. The Air Force recognized Alina's contributions, awarding her medals and commendations for her exceptional service. Yet she remained humble, never letting recognition define her. She continued to focus on the work itself, on improving her skills, and on helping others achieve their potential. For Alina, heroism was about action, not applause. Every life saved, every successful mission, and every student she trained represented a success far greater than any medal or public recognition. One of the most significant moments in her later career came during a large-scale joint exercise. Multiple squadrons were involved, including international allies, and the scenarios were designed to simulate real-world emergencies under extremely challenging conditions. Alina was assigned a leadership role, coordinating multiple aircraft, rescue operations, and mission strategies. The exercise tested every skill she had developed over years: decision-making, navigation, coordination, and quick thinking. As the exercise progressed, unexpected challenges arose. Weather conditions worsened, communications were disrupted, and simulated enemy aircraft maneuvered unpredictably. Many pilots struggled to adapt, but Alina remained composed. She guided her team through every obstacle, making critical decisions that ensured mission success while keeping every aircraft and pilot safe. Her calm authority and expertise inspired confidence among her team, and by the end of the exercise, she had not only completed the mission flawlessly, but had taught her team invaluable lessons about preparation, focus, and trust. Alina's influence extended beyond missions and training exercises. She became a role model for resilience, determination, and quiet leadership. Other pilots looked to her as an example of what could be achieved through hard work, skill, and integrity. She showed that courage was not about taking reckless risks, but about making the right decisions, often under pressure, and accepting responsibility for the outcomes. Her example inspired others to strive for excellence and to value the impact of their actions on the lives of those around them. Even with her legendary status as Wraith, Alina never lost sight of her own values. She remained deeply compassionate and empathetic, often checking in on her students, colleagues, and those she had helped in previous missions. She understood the weight of responsibility that came with her skills, and she carried it with humility. Her actions reflected a balance of strength and kindness, showing that true heroism was not just about ability, but also about character. Over time, Alina became involved in initiatives to improve pilot training programs. She contributed to curriculum development, emphasizing practical skills, decision-making under pressure, and crisis management. Her insights, drawn from real-life missions, brought a new level of depth to the programs. She worked closely with instructors, sharing techniques, strategies, and methods to help future pilots prepare for challenges they might face in the field. Her goal was clear: to create a generation of pilots capable, confident, and ready for any situation. Even outside the Air Force, Alina's story began to inspire people. Her rescue mission of 183 lives and her calm, precise skill in extreme conditions became widely known in military circles, though she herself avoided the spotlight. She gave interviews only when necessary, always focusing on the lessons rather than personal fame. Her story became an example of dedication, courage, and the impact one individual could have through action, preparation, and integrity. Despite the fame her actions brought, Alina maintained a private life grounded in simplicity. She enjoyed quiet moments, often reflecting on her experiences, the lessons learned, and the lives she had touched. She took joy in the success of her students, the camaraderie of her colleagues, and the knowledge that she had made a meaningful difference in the world. Her life was defined not by awards or recognition, but by the consistent pursuit of excellence and the unwavering commitment to do what was right. As she looked toward the future, Alina continued to embrace challenges. She understood that her role as a pilot, mentor, and leader was never truly finished. Every mission, every student, and every opportunity to make a difference was a chance to live up to the name Wraith. The legend of her skill, calm, and heroism had grown, but for Alina, it was never about legend. It was about responsibility, action, and the lives she could impact. Alina's story is a reminder that true heroes are often quiet, humble, and focused on the work itself, rather than recognition. Her nickname, Wraith, symbolizes more than skill. It represents a commitment to excellence, courage under pressure, and the quiet power of one individual to make a profound difference. Her legacy would continue through the pilots she trained, the lives she saved, and the example she set for everyone who aspired to do their best in service of others. In the end, Captain Alina Harper's journey was not defined by the storms she had flown through, the missions she had completed, or even the nickname she had earned. It was defined by her unwavering dedication, her courage, and her ability to remain calm, focused, and compassionate in the face of challenges that most could not imagine. The Air Force had called her Wraith. The elite pilots had whispered the name with admiration. But for Alina, the true measure of her success was the lives she touched, the skills she shared, and the legacy she left behind. Her story closed one chapter but opened countless others. Every pilot she trained, every mission she completed, and every life she influenced carried forward the spirit of the Wraith. She had shown the world that skill, courage, and heart could combine to create something remarkable. And as long as she continued to fly, to teach, and to lead, the name Wraith would live on, not just as a legend, but as a symbol of what one determined individual could achieve when they devoted themselves fully to their purpose. Alina Harper looked to the sky, as she always had since childhood, and felt a sense of fulfillment. She had achieved what she had dreamed of, mastery in the air, courage under pressure, and the knowledge that she had made a difference. The missions were far from over, but she knew that every action, every decision, and every lesson learned would shape not just her own life, but the lives of countless others. The Wraith was not just a pilot. She was a mentor, a protector, and a living example of quiet heroism.